Say good evening, everyone. In the today's session, we are going to discuss about AWS EC2. So, what is the meaning of EC2? We'll discuss. But before that, we'll discuss what is AWS. As already we discussed, Amazon Web Services or AWS is subsidiary of Amazon, and AWS is one of the world comprehensive and broadly adapted cloud platform. Okay, so one of the leading and broadly adapted cloud platform is AWS, and offering more than 239 services. Those services have been categorized into IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, analytics, mobile applications, lot of areas they're going to cover, and we are going to feature more than 30 plus regions they have, 100 plus zones they have, millions of customers. Okay, so those millions of customers includes like lot of startups, lot of enterprise companies, larger enterprises, government agencies, individuals. Everyone are going to use AWS because they can reduce their cost, and they can deliver the applications very fastly, and they can move to agile, and they can innovatively they can perform. Okay, so these all the advantages we are going to get it through the so these all the advantages we are going to get it by using AWS. Okay, so using the AWS, what is the main advantages? We can reduce our cost, we can reduce our manpower very fastly, we can provision, and innovation also can be delivered very fastly. So that is the advantage to go for the AWS. Okay, so then AWS already we discussed this, provides the largest footprint of the data centers today in the world we have with the AWS. So the largest footprint of data centers we have with the AWS we have in the market today. And compared to any other regions, we can deliver the applications also at the rapid phase. The applications also can be delivered at the rapid phase. Okay, so we have well architecture framework, that is I'll explain. This is for theory wise we need. Okay, so then today we'll discuss about AWS global infrastructure. Okay, say no other cloud in the world near to AWS, like AWS wise, the size wise nowhere is near to AWS. So we'll discuss the AWS global data centers. So we have the terminology is there, regions. The regions have been divided into available zones we have, and we can split them into local zones also. And finally, we have like edge locations. Edge locations also we have, and wavelength also, wavelength zones also we have. What are all these terminology we'll discuss in the AWS global data centers? So we have the regions, available zones, local zones, edge locations, and wavelength zones we have. So what are these terminology we'll discuss? Okay, so AWS global infrastructure. Say any company, if I go for the AWS, automatically we are also getting that infrastructure. That means if I have a company, like I have an enterprise, I can't set up data centers in 30 locations. But if I use AWS, obviously myself also having 30 locations, I have my data centers. So that is the advantage of public cloud. Okay, so here for the why the small and medium enterprises today, even large scale enterprises also running behind AWS itself. Okay, so because they they have proven like that, their solutions have been proven like that. Okay, so then say here we have the AWS global infrastructure having multiple data centers, and we are going to group them into available zones, regions, edge locations, wavelength locations, and local also we have. So what are these AWS global infrastructure? We'll discuss. What is that AWS global infrastructure? We will discuss on this. Okay. So then available AWS region, in order to understand in our terms, I will tell, in 2004, AWS has been started. Okay, it started for internal, their employees only, for Amazon employees only. But in 2006, what they did is they made it publicly available. Okay, so they made it publicly available. That means anyone can use that AWS. 2006 to 2010, mostly they have their region is North Virginia. North Virginia is one of their biggest region. But in 2010, we got a lot of floods. So we have got the natural calamity, floods. Then AWS has faced some downtime. With that, they have realized we shouldn't expand only in one region. We need to keep globally. Okay, so that is the reason they went today more than 30 plus geographical kind of locations. Those geographical locations are called as regions. So can you guess in India we can understand what is the region is Mumbai is there around 2016. Mumbai have been started as a region, and the second one in 2021 or 22, I think 22 December, we got a new region also, Hyderabad. Okay, so these Hyderabad or Mumbai, these are called as regions. Okay, so like this, how many regions they have? So we have more than 30 plus regions we have all over the globe. Most of the continents we have the regions. Even Africa also have one. Australia also have two. New Zealand also they're going to start. In an average, in every year, AWS is increasing 5 plus regions. Every year they're adding. Maybe going forward, even in the India also, they may add more regions. But each region is going to be divided into available zones. That means if technically we can understand Hyderabad geographical locations. That is the reason I took an example of Hyderabad. In Hyderabad, AWS is not going to keep one data center. Okay, technically again in the Hyderabad, it's a region, it's a logical kind of thing. But in Hyderabad, again, they're going to keep 3 different available zones. They're going to keep it. Okay, say in Hyderabad, again, they're going to keep 3 different available zones they're going to keep. Okay, so that's within a radius of 60 miles or 100 kilometers. So within a radius of 60 miles to 100 kilometers. Okay, so what AWS is going to keep is AWS is going to keep the available zones. So can you tell me what is the advantage of available zones? Okay, so what is the main advantage of the available zones are networking, storage, data centers, power supply is isolated from one zone to another zone. That means in one zone, I got like power failure, other zone it won't affect. One storage down in one zone, another zone affects, it won't affect. Data center is down, it won't affect. Say when in the zone, we may have one or more data centers, but again, the region technically is going to be divided into multiple zones within a radius of within a radius of 60 miles or 100 kilometers. Okay, within that radius itself, we are going to get. So what is the main advantage of available zones is high availability. Second one is that we are going to get the high availability here. The second one we are going to get from this is we are going to get low latency. So first one is high availability we are going to get. Second one is low latency we are going to get. So this is the main advantage of using available zones. So this is the main advantage of using the available zones. Okay. Yeah. Any doubts on this? So between the regions also, we can have high availability, but latency would be there. Say suppose I'm using one region is Hyderabad, the second one is in maybe Oregon in US, then definitely I'll have latency between them. But between the zones, what is the advantage is they're spread across only 60 miles or 100 kilometers. So that is the reason we don't get the much like latency we don't get. High availability we are getting and low latency also we are getting with the zones. And AWS minimum they are maintaining 3 zones. In each and every region, minimum they're maintaining 3 zones. And in some regions, they have 4 zones and 6 zones also they have. 1 or 2 in the US having more than 3 also, but minimum they're maintaining 3 zones. When we are designing our resources, always make sure our resources should be spread across. Our resources should be spread across multiple. Our resources should be spread across multiple like zones. That means if we want to keep 20 servers, don't keep all the 20 servers in one zone itself. Okay, so spread them. Maybe 10 servers in one zone, another 10 servers in another zone. So like this, we need to design. Okay, all the servers don't keep in only one zone itself. Okay. Any doubts on this? Any doubts? Come again, your voice is very low.
ఎలా పంపిస్తాను దీంట్లో ఎస్బీఐ ఓపెన్ చేశాను దీంట్లో
Yeah. So any doubts? Any doubts on this? Okay, so now we need to use the regions and zones. Minimum they have 3 zones. Okay, so we need to keep minimum 3 zones we need to use. With this, what is the main advantage is Even if one zone goes down also, the solution is highly available from another zone. Even if one zone goes down also, the solution is highly available from the another zone. So then we have even local zones. We have those all we'll discuss later. But these two, as of now, first very important. Here I'll show one diagram. Try to understand uh, AWS global infrastructure. If we Google this one, in the AWS global infrastructure, yeah, say how many regions we have. They're continuously adding more number of regions. After 1 year, if you see, they may have 40 plus maybe regions they may have, and 120, 140 kind of available zones they may have. And these all the edge locations, they have more than 600 locations. And here we have this global infrastructure map. So these all green symbols are like regions. If you come to India, we have in Mumbai, when it is started in 2016, and they have three available zones, two local zones they have. But if you go to North California, 2009, and three zones. But their biggest one is, and for the governments also, they have North Virginia launched in 2006. Available zones are six, local zones are 14, wavelength zones are eight. So whenever you have time, just spend some time on this. I have a doubt here whether AWS have more number of regions or Azure have more number of regions. Okay, Azure number-wise is bigger, but size-wise, the largest footprint is with the AWS itself. Okay, Microsoft having number-wise bigger number, but nowhere near to AWS compared to GCP or Azure, Oracle Cloud, Ali Cloud. AWS is the biggest footprint, and even they have started even in the South Africa also they have started, and this this meaning is they're going to coming soon, maybe in the next 6 months we are going to get this. So even in like New Zealand, Auckland also we are going to get, Taiwan we are getting new, Thailand we are getting new, Saudi Arabia. Okay, so like this they're going to keep another 5 to 6 every year they are going to add. Okay, and minimum now they kept the condition is how many minimum they're keeping the zones. Minimum zones they're keeping is 3 zones they're keeping. The minimum zones they're keeping in every region, three. And we can't access here. We have the government wise also. They have okay. So we can't use this AWS government cloud for the US government agencies only. They can use these data centers. Normal public they don't allow to use those data centers. But Indian government not accepted to move their data to Indian government not accepted to move the data to the government kind of data centers. So that means Indian government still not accepted for the public cloud government data centers, but US, China, these all accepted. And if you come to China also, this is China region, and another region also is there in the Beijing also is China one itself. Okay, Seoul is not China, but outside world can't use these China data centers. So China kept the condition, those two data centers are only for those two data centers are only for the China users only. China government not accepted. China users can't use outside the China data centers, and others can't use China data centers also. Okay, so that is the purpose. We don't get this, but we have two regions in China also. Okay, Stockholm, Europe also we have mostly European countries having one strict rule. Any of the European country, any of the European data centers, they can keep the data. Say that means one European country is there. Assume here UK is there. They may not allow to keep in the US kind of regions. Any of the Europe is fine. Okay, so EU, European Union have that kind of rules. Mostly they'll try to keep in the Europe itself. It depends upon their country kind of rules also we need to implement. Okay. Yeah. Any doubts? Any doubts on this? Okay. So now when we are designing our EC2 instances, we need to choose which region we want to keep, which zone we want to keep also. We need to select by one. So which region, which zone also we need to select by one. Okay. So better to keep minimum how many zones are recommended? Minimum how many zones are recommended to keep in one region? Better to go for two regions are recommended. Okay. Any doubts? Any doubts on this? So now we'll choose one region and one or two zones. Then we are going to create an EC2 instance. We are going to create a, EC2 instance. Okay, how we can administrate AWS. Already we discussed this one. We can use AWS console, or it's called as a AWS management console, which is a GUI base. Second one is AWS command line. AWS CLI is the command line we can use. The third one is AWS APIs or SDKs. Mostly developers can use AWS APIs or SDKs. Then we have this AWS cloud formation also, which is AWS inbuilt IAC solution, infrastructure as a code. And finally, we have third-party solutions also called as Terraform. Okay, so we have the Terraform also is one of the leader we have. Okay, so these are the solutions we are going to implement. Yeah, any doubts on this? Any doubts? So today we are going to create the EC2 instances from the AWS console. We will provision the EC2 instances from the AWS console. We are going to provision the EC2 instances. Okay, so for that, I'll come to browser. So we can call as AWS management console. So you can search for AWS management console. Then here we can manage the AWS resources through the browser-based GUI console. And I'm going to sign into the console. Then here I'm going to either we can access as an IAM user or we can access as a root user login. I'm going to use as of now root user, but after IAM class, it's not recommended to use It's not recommended to use root user. We need to log in the real time as an IAM user itself. We need to log in as a IAM user itself. I'm going to enter one email ID. In the real time, can you tell me we are going to use a root login or IAM login? In the real time, we need to log in as an IAM user itself. Okay, so then I'm going to enter the password. I'm going to sign into the password. Okay, so then I'm going to EC2. So then we'll go for EC2. So this is the AWS console. I think first time we have login, and here we have more than all services. You just explore alphabetically. They have given all these services. How many AWS services we have? So more than 230 plus services. They're keep on adding more services, and these all analytics, application integration, blockchain, business applications. These all comes under categories. And here we have more than 230 plus services we have. Okay, so today we are going to use EC2 here. Okay, so we are going to use EC2 in this use case. And what is the meaning of EC2 is Elastic Compute Cloud. So EC2 is going to provide computing resources for us. Okay, so those computing resources we have is those computing resources. What computing resources we have? Say Linux, Mac, Windows. So these all the computing environments we are going to get it from the AWS cloud. Okay, so then these all, like as of now we are in the region is Mumbai. For every region they have given one ID. So what is the ID here? AP-South-1 is the Mumbai ID. So that means whenever we are using automation, we need to specify AP-South-1. Okay. For North Virginia, what is the ID is AP-East-1. For Ohio, US East 2. At least 3 to 4 region IDs try to remember. Okay. So then for Hyderabad, AP-South-2. Okay. So as of now, for our account, they didn't give for our account, but we may need to request if we want to use it. Hyderabad ID is AP-South-2. Okay. AP stands for Asian Pacific. Asian Pacific. Okay. So now we can go for instances, launch an instance. So we are going to launch an instance. Okay, so now instance is nothing but it's a virtual computing environment. In the physical terminology, it's a physical server. But in the AWS, we are not getting a physical server. It's a virtual computing environment. So now I'm going to call this as my web server. I'm going to call this as my web server. Then these all the AMIs. What is the AMI is? What is the main advantage of using the, say suppose here I'll explain the terminology parallelly. So now here we are going to use the instance. Instance is nothing but a virtual server or virtual computing environment from AWS cloud is called as instance. A virtual server or virtual computing environment. And here we are going to get AMI. What is the concept of AMI is? It's a pre-configured template. That means whenever we want to install, maybe you purchase a laptop or you got a desktop, we need to install the OS in that. But in the AWS, we no need to install the operating system. What is going to happen? Already we have the AMIs. That means in that already that OS is there. We just need to choose which OS image you want. So now here in this use case, I'm going to choose Amazon Linux. Then here I'm not going to install Amazon Linux. Already that AMI having that operating system. So now here they mentioned, right? So what they mentioned, an AMI is a template that contains the software configuration. It may have operating system, application servers, applications, databases also sometimes. But as of now, I have taken Amazon Linux, Mac OS, Ubuntu. If you want, you can take Ubuntu. I don't want Linux or Mac. I want Windows. Then you choose the Windows. Red Hat also is one kind of Linux flavor only. SUSE Linux or Debian Linux. So which Linux we want? So that Linux we are going to select in this use case. So which Linux we want? That Linux here we are going to choose. Okay, so as of now, I'm going to choose the Ubuntu here. So what is this Ubuntu we have chosen is, it's an AMI. And in that also, we are going to get Ubuntu Server 24.04. That is the Ubuntu latest version we have. Okay, so if you don't want 22.04, you can use 22.04 also. Okay, I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to use 24.04 itself. Okay, so 24.04 is the latest version of the Ubuntu server. Okay, so who created these AMIs for us? Who created those AMIs? Already AWS itself has created those AMIs. We are just using those AMIs. Okay, so AWS itself has been created those AMIs. We are just using. Okay, so in this use case, we have taken Ubuntu Server 24.04. Okay, so then here we have one more option. What is this called as instance type? So now after choosing the AMI, these all in our own terminology, we need to able to answer. So what is AMI is nothing but it's a pre-configured OS template we should able to tell. Optionally, we can have not only OS, we may have application servers or maybe another applications also, and databases also we can have in this. Okay, so after AMI, we need to understand the instance type. What is the concept of instance type is, you want to purchase a laptop, you may have a i3 or i5, i7. Like this, we have the different configurations we have. Okay, the i3, i5, i7, we have the different configurations. We are going to get those. That instance type here in the AWS, we are going to get different CPU and memory, and network wise also we will calculate that as IOPS, IOPS. Okay, input and output per second. Like we can get the different kind of options, different hardware types, different CPUs, different memory. Okay, so that's we need to choose the instance type. By default, which we have chosen here is T2.micro. Say why we have chosen T2.micro in this use case is it is available as free of cost for us. That means we created an account, right? So here we are going to use 750 hours. This account we are going to use. Okay, so for 750 hours, we are going to use this account, and AWS is providing this at free of cost for us. AWS is going to provide this at a free of cost. Okay, so for that 750 hours, we don't need to pay the money. But if I use the T2.micro, how many virtual CPUs we are getting? How many virtual CPUs we are getting? We are getting one virtual CPU and 1 GB RAM. One virtual CPU and 1 GB RAM. Okay. So we can have the different type of hardware types also. Those all will discuss. Then another very important one is key pair. So what is the concept of key pair is for the AWS instances, say here we are going to discuss key pair. For our AWS instances, we don't have passwords. Okay, for the AWS instances, we don't have the passwords. Okay, so for that purpose, what AWS has given is AWS has given encryption keys using the crypto kind of encryptions. So here we are going to get key pair having two keys. One is public key and private key. Both have been paid as a key pair. Both have been paid into key pair. What is the advantage with this is like it's secure compared to your password mechanism in the cloud. For the security purpose, AWS is providing us key pairs, and for the Linux instances, they're not supporting password. Instead of password, what we have? We have the private keys. Okay, but as the name suggests, here we have the combination of both public and private we have. So both the combination of public and private we have. Okay, so now here I'm going to create one key pair here. If I go to create a new key pair, my new key pair I have given any name we can give, and here two types of encryption algorithms. These all RSA is one of the popular encryption algorithm, and we have one more is ED25519. Two different encryption algorithms we have, and we have .pem file and .ppk file also. We have these two are the file formats. What are all these also we'll discuss. Okay, as of now, I'm using RSA and PEM format. Okay, we can use PPK also, but this recently they have given 1 year back or 2 years back. Previously, they didn't support it. PPK format, only PEM file they have given. Okay, so as of now, use these two itself. I'm going to create a new key pair. Then as of now, I'm going with the default network options itself. Remaining all most of them go with the network options. Okay, so here indirectly we are getting VPC, subnet also as of now, and one public IP also we are getting. And this is security group. So this security group is very, very important for us. What is that security group? We'll discuss. So what is the concept of security group is? AWS by default provides one virtual firewall for us. AWS is going to provide one virtual firewall for us, and that virtual firewall, okay, we are going to configure inbound and outbound rules. We are going to configure the inbound and outbound rules. Those inbound and outbound rules are called as security group. Okay, so inbound rules are traffic coming from outside server to instance, outside, maybe outside, not server, outside network to instance. And what is the meaning of outbound traffic is from instance to outside, what is the traffic is going on. So here we need to configure both the inbound and outbound rules. That rules are nothing but security group. So now in this use case, we have opened here SSH traffic. What is the meaning of this SSH traffic is we are connecting to an instance. This is a Linux instance. Hence, we need to open. Okay, so if we want to connect to Linux instance, we need to open the port number 22 for the SSH communication. Okay, so that SSH stands for secure host. Okay, so if you want to connect to Windows, we need to open the port number 3389. This is for remote desktop protocol. Okay, so those we need to configure in the security groups. Security groups are nothing but virtual firewall rules. If you don't configure these rules, what's going to happen? If you don't configure those rules, we are not going to get the communication. Okay, so we're not going to get the communication between those outside world to inside the server. Outside world to inside server, we are not going to get it. That is the reason for we are creating the Ubuntu. That is the reason here we created mandatory set 22 traffic. SH is nothing but 22. What is this anywhere? I'll explain. Then this is another important one. Okay, so here we are going to configure the storage also. Okay, so while creating the instance, okay, so we are creating the instance. So EC2 provides computing resources. VPC provides one public IP, one private IP, that communication, all that it established. Then EBS provides storage also. Okay, for the persistency of the storage, we are going to use the EBS volumes. With this, what is the advantage is, even if my VM is restarted or shut down, okay, so the data is persistent. So what is the meaning of persistency here is, normally you have a laptop, if you shut down or restart, your data, what you have saved is persistent, your Windows files are persistent, those are not getting deleted. Okay, so for even for your EC2 instance also, we require that kind of persistency. For that, we are going to use EBS volumes. So now in this use case, how much GB we are getting is 8 GB we are getting, and here we have GP3. What is this? We'll discuss. Then I'm going number of instances I can give one with the basic one instance. If I launch the instance, my instance is getting created. My instance is getting created, and we will get one unique instance ID also. Okay, so I-03. This is just a name, but this instance ID is the unique kind of thing. And as of now, instance state came to pending to running state. After that, status checks. All these also we are going to get. Say within 2 minutes, without having any single hardware, without installing any OS, we have provisioned an EC2 instance. Okay, so that is the main advantage of using EC2 instance. That is the main advantage to use the EC2. Okay, without requiring any physical hardware, without requiring any servers, we can deliver all our desktops on top of those servers. On top of that, we can deliver our applications also. Okay, any doubts? Any doubts on this? So now I can go to instance state. Once I connect to this instance state, I can stop the instance, reboot the instance, or I can terminate the instance also. So like this, I'm going to terminate the instance. Now, this time I'll again create one more instance. This time I will install Windows instance I'll create. So everyone create an account and spend some time on provisioning this. So now here my Windows server I'm going to use. Then the AMI, I'm not going to choose Amazon Linux or Ubuntu. I'm choosing here Windows and Windows Server 2022 base image I have selected here. Okay, if you don't want 2022, EC2 is only for the server class. Don't expect Windows 11, Windows 10. Those are not data center products. Those are just in our laptop we are going to use. Okay, so here we are getting data center products in order to deploy our databases, applications, to run our workloads. So these are data center products. Then you can have 2022 also, 2019 also, 2016, 2012 also. Okay. So as of now, make sure you should choose free tier itself because we are using free tier account. Okay. Then T2.micro is the instance type I have chosen because that is also is a free tier. Then key pair, either I can create a new key pair or I can use the same existing key pair also. I'm going to give my Windows key pair and ED25519 encryption algorithm is only for the Linux only. It won't support Windows. Hence, it's recommended to go for RSA encryption algorithm and PEM also is recommended to go. And I'm going to create a new key pair. I'm going to create a new key pair. Then say here if you go for not SSH, here it's mandatory we need to open. Which topic we need to open here? RDP. Can you tell me what is RDP port number? 3389. RDP port number is the 3389. So once you create these instances, then for the Linux 8 GB, 10 GB may be enough. For Windows, we require minimum 30 GB. But in the free account also, we are getting 30 GB of the EBS storage we are getting. The number of instances I have chosen one. And if I click on the launch instance, my instance is getting launched. And I'll get a new launch ID or instance ID I'm going to get. Okay, I can say if I go to this instance, I'll get a public IP, private IP. Okay, IPv6 optionally we can get it. Public DNS name, private DNS name, one IP name. Okay, so we got lot of details and we can configure status checks, 1x2 status check, 2x2 status check, monitoring. We'll use CloudWatch for this monitoring, security, networking. storage, all these, like it's not only from the EC2, we are going to integrate with the other services also. Okay, so everyone, today to try to create an account and try to provision EC2 instances. How to connect to these EC2 instances, we'll discuss in the next class. How to connect to these EC2 instances, we'll discuss in the next class.